The beautiful Elite and I met briefly in July when I visited a kibbutz near the Gaza Strip as part of the JNF Educators Tour. However, hearing her story when we spoke online recently made me realize how much we had in common. Having children of similar ages to Elite's, it was particularly hard to ignore the reality that she and her family lived through every day. During the JNF tour, along with 76 educators from around Australia and New Zealand, I visited many schools on Kibbutzim across Israel. But it wasn't until I stood in a safe room at a preschool in Kibbutz Erez in the Gaza Envelope, a kindergarten just like the one next to Elite's home, that I was able to gain true perspective on the situation. I wanted to share with you what I saw. On the wall at the preschool was a weekly schedule. Now imagine the schedule at the preschools of your children and grandchildren in Sydney. Activities would include Jewish songs, nature play, other activities that make for a beautiful day of learning and fun. The schedule on Kibbutz Erez outlined all of these activities, but with an important addition. In bold, I saw an activity, one which we could never contemplate. It was a weekly drill. A drill to practice running to the safe room. A drill to teach kids how to count and run. A drill for protection. A drill to save their life. I can't imagine how our kids would be impacted if part of their weekly schedule included running to a safe room. How would this impact their vulnerable little minds? I know that when I drop my kids at Moriah every day, I worry about the trivial things. Will they eat their Vegemite sandwich? Will they remember their soccer boots in their bag? And have I applied enough sunscreen? I take for granted that they will also be returned safely to me at the end of the school day. Being in Israel brought it all home to me, and I'm so thankful for the experience from JNF, not only for a wonderful and insightful trip, but mostly for giving me the gift of opening my eyes to the reality of the situation in Israel and helping me realize how fortunate I am and how privileged my kids are. Tonight, I urge you to do the same, to open your eyes and your hearts to the trauma that Elite and many Israeli mothers and fathers go through every day. We can make a difference. Please dig deep and donate generously and give the children of Israel South the gift of a happy, beautiful day at preschool. Thank you.
Please welcome to the stage Professor Rivka Kami, head of Israeli Academy for Science and Medicine and former president of the Ben-Gurion University of the Negev.
Unfulfilled visions are false visions, said David Ben-Gurion. I had this saying in my mind when in 1975, upon graduating from medical school at the Hebrew University in Jerusalem, I have made a very conscious decision to decline offers for residencies in pediatrics at major hospitals in the center of Israel and move to the Negev. I had a strong sense of urgency to make a difference, health-wise, in the Israel periphery, and since I grew up in a Ben-Gurion social ideology home, the Negev was the obvious choice. Indeed, my medical career serving the Negev community at the Soroka Medical Center, the only hospital in the Negev, my research career studying genetic diseases in the traditional Arab Bedouin population in the Negev, and my academic career at Ben-Gurion University Medical School have all impacted the region that, as you've heard, is 23% of Israel's landmass, yet only about 10% of its population. For 45 years that I have lived in the Negev, I realize daily how easy it is to dream and how difficult it is to fulfill visions. But nevertheless, I appreciated the privilege I had to take part in my various roles and positions in fulfilling David Ben-Gurion's vision for the Negev to become a vibrant part of the growing and prospering state of Israel. I realized how important and in fact critical was the medical school to the building of community health services in the Negev by its graduates. How instrumental was Ben-Gurion University in bringing students and faculty to live in the Negev, in making the desert green by researching drylands research that was local, but the challenges are also relevant worldwide. In building coalition to bring high-tech industry to the Negev, so to eventually turn Beersheba into the cyber capital of Israel and an international leading cyber technology center. But I also realized how difficult and complicated it was, and how much it was, and it is, dependent on strong collaborations and partnerships, be it with local agencies, municipal and governmental, but mostly partnerships with Jewish organizations and communities over the world. The notion became crystal clear to me in my tenure as Ben-Gurion University president. I have realized how much of what has been achieved and accomplished in the Negev, thanks to the help of our extended family in the world, would not have happened otherwise. I was born in Israel. To me, being Jewish wasn't at all an issue. Shabbat was taken for granted, and so were all the Jewish holidays. As I grew up, I became more and more aware of my Jewish roots. But it was only during my role as Ben-Gurion president that I realized the real meaning of Jewish heritage, the feeling of a deep bond to fellow Jews, and especially the enormous contribution of the world Jewry to the state of Israel, and specifically to the Negev. It is in this context that I became aware of the huge involvement of the JNF, and especially JNF Australia, in helping the growth, development, and prosperity of communities in the Negev. From the Arava to Ramat Negev, to Sha'ar Negev, Eshkol, and more. From water reservoirs, infrastructures, and environmental development in new communities. Outstandingly beautiful parks all over the Negev. Unique visitor and art centers. Research and development ecological centers. 2 playgrounds for children. Special education and vocational centers. And more recently, some very exciting and admirable projects in the so-called surrounding Gaza Strip and the Western Negev in general. Well, it is practically impossible to visit places in the Negev, be it residential or recreational, without noticing the fingerprint of JNF Australia, either as a national organization or through its general individual donors. Well, listing all the projects would make a full presentation in its own. So I chose to specifically note the amazing impact of the JNF Australia on the Western Negev, very much considering the recent short, though very meaningful operation that we had, Breaking Dawn. In my role as Ben-Gurion University president, I have witnessed firsthand the huge emotional burden of the volatile security situation in the Negev in general, and especially in the Western Negev, on the population, be it students or faculty. I became aware of the war, terror-related trauma, and PTSD, and I came to realize the needs for resiliency building among civil society. Obviously, as a pediatrician, I was specifically concerned with the impact of the situation on children. Soon enough, I learned about the JNF Australia project in Resilience Center in Sderot to build state-of-the-art animal assistant therapy center, something extremely important for kids. I have recently visited the center and watched work in progress. The upgrade of the current very basic facility will be outstanding, and I know that the children are looking forward to it in great anticipation. Another project by JNF Australia that I have recently visited, as you could see on the video, was in the surrounding Gaza Strip, the dramatic upgrade of the outdoor playgrounds of kindergartens. Now, you do not need to be a special physician or a specialist expert in child development to understand how important it is for kids to be able to run around outdoors and how stressful and depressing can be a long confinement to closed spaces. Enabling children to spend time outdoors near sheltered spaces is a must in the Western Negev. And this is being achieved thanks to you, JNF Australia. I visited the project, honestly, with amazement and gratitude. Let's face it, this is the kind of small details that support young parents' decision to live in a place like the Western Negev. The 95% of the time in the surrounding Gaza Strip that is heaven, and it is heaven, is a great attraction for young families. But the well-being of their kids is their prime concern. Addressing effectively the 5% hell, and it is hell, brought about by the security reality to their kids is what settles their decision to live in this extremely important geographic region to the state of Israel. And in many respects, JNF Australia enables exactly that. In its many diverse projects, combining bricks and mortar with environmental beautification, the JNF Australia, to me, caters to the needs of the body, the mind, and the soul, and contributes to the resilience and the well-being of people in the Negev, and thus in Israel generally. And we are grateful for that, because, as the Israeli song goes, "Ein li eretz acheret." I have no other country, and I would add, no other Jewish country. But we also have no other Negev, land reservoir, to secure the future growth and expansion of the State of Israel. So thank you very much, JNF Australia, and thank you, my dear friends, for the opportunity to visit again this great country. Thank you.